Hi, you're on the Reddit Confessions channel. Stick around and tell us in the comments. What's the most ridiculous reason someone ever gave for taking a break? The letter arrived on a Wednesday. No return address. No message on the envelope. Just my name, scribbled in her handwriting I hadn't seen in over a year. My hands shook like I'd just seen a ghost. Inside were three things. A photo of the two of us from years ago, smiling, her arms around my neck like we still had a future. A plane ticket to Seattle, in my name. And a note that simply read, "Please, just one conversation." I laughed. Not the kind of laugh you share with friends over drinks. The kind that cracks in the middle because it's stitched together with disbelief and bitterness. She wanted a conversation? After everything? After vanishing me from my own life with 5 words? Let's take a break. That's how she said it. On a rainy afternoon while I was unclogging the kitchen sink. No big fight. No drawn-out discussion. Just that. Like a boss calling a meeting to tell you your job is being paused indefinitely. I didn't argue. Didn't plead. I said okay, and then I vanished better than she ever expected. You see, what she didn't know was that I'd already been invisible for months. I'd been talking to a wall, cooking for a shadow, sharing a bed with someone whose eyes never met mine. So when she asked for distance, she got silence. Pure, absolute silence. She moved out. Said she needed clarity. She found it. In the arms of some guy from her improv class. I found it too, but not the way she thought. I didn't follow her. I didn't check her socials. I didn't stalk her new relationship or send bitter texts. I did something worse. I healed. Without her. Now, over a year later, she's the one tracing my footsteps, sending photos, writing letters, calling my friends. And if you think that's the twist, you have no idea what she did next. Because when she realized I wasn't just taking space, she unraveled. And that's where it gets dark. After I opened the letter and saw the plane ticket, I sat on the edge of my bed and stared at the wall for a long time. Not thinking, not feeling, just suspended. Like time had paused along with the relationship she so carelessly shelved. Seattle, of all places, the city where she once said she could breathe again, and where she'd reinvent herself. Apparently, reinvention looked a lot like betrayal. I remember the last thing she said to me before walking out. "This isn't goodbye, Russ. I just need to feel like myself again." I believed her. I thought maybe I'd done something wrong. Maybe I'd become too boring, too quiet, too safe. I even blamed myself when she stopped texting first, stopped asking how my day was, started sleeping facing the wall. But after she left, and I got my hands on the reality of what she'd been doing during our break, something inside me hardened. I found out through sheer accident. I wasn't snooping. Honestly, I didn't have the energy. Her sister, who didn't know we were on a break, posted a photo from a weekend wedding. And there she was, my wife, on the arm of a guy I didn't recognize, smiling, leaning into him, wearing the same dress I had picked out for her last birthday. That was the last time I felt sorry for her. I didn't say anything. I didn't write some angry, bitter message. Instead, I quietly sold our condo, moved 3 states away, changed my number, and started living like I'd never known a woman named Avery. And now she was clawing her way back into my world like nothing happened? What she didn't know was that I'd spent the past year rebuilding myself from the ground up. I lost 30 pounds. I stopped drinking energy drinks for dinner. I started hiking, journaling, even went on a silent retreat, which is funny because silence was all she ever gave me near the end. I was finally learning who I was without the weight of her disappointment pressing on my chest. But still, that letter, it shook something loose. Not because I missed her, but because I knew Avery. And Avery never begged. So why now? Why that photo? Why the ticket? Something was wrong. Something didn't add up. This wasn't just guilt. This was desperation. I didn't tell anyone I was going. I didn't even pack a bag. I wore the same jeans and hoodie I had on, grabbed my wallet, and headed for the train station. If she wanted one conversation, she'd get it. But she wouldn't like what I had to say. And neither would I, because deep down, I knew this wasn't just about a break that never ended. This was about a woman who broke something and couldn't find a way to fix it. But she was about to try. And her version of trying would drag me into something I never expected. The flight to Seattle was uneventful, which somehow made it worse. Too much time to think. Too much time to wonder what she could possibly want now. After ghosting me like I was a bad memory she could delete. I stared out the window as the clouds drifted below me, thinking about how small everything looked from above. Funny how easy it is to mistake distance for clarity. When I landed, I didn't text her, didn't call. She left an address scribbled in the corner of the ticket envelope, a tiny loft near Pike Place. I walked there in the cold, pulling my hoodie tight, pretending I felt nothing, that I wasn't nervous, that I didn't feel like a man walking into a trap of his own design. When I got to the building, I stood outside for at least 5 minutes. My fingers hovered over the buzzer. Part of me wanted to walk away, disappear again, and prove I'd changed. But curiosity, or stupidity, won. I pressed the button. She answered the door barefoot, like nothing had changed. She looked thinner, paler, but still wore that same perfume that used to drive me insane. There was a flicker of something in her eyes. Regret? Fear? I couldn't tell. But it wasn't joy. Russ. Her voice cracked. One conversation, I said flatly. You've got 20 minutes. She didn't argue. She stepped aside and let me in. The place was dim, quiet. There were no pictures, no cozy signs of home, just half-packed boxes and a mattress on the floor. She offered tea. I declined. I didn't come here to pretend we were civil. She sat across from me on the edge of the mattress like a student waiting to be scolded. I stayed standing. I made a mistake, she started. I almost laughed. That phrase should be retired. It's the fallback line of cowards who don't want to name what they did. A mistake is burning toast. Not leaving your husband for a guy with a motorcycle and a poetry blog. Which one? I asked. Taking the break? Lying? Moving across the country? Or sending me a ticket like I'm some ex you forgot to delete? Her face twisted. I didn't lie. I tilted my head. So you were sleeping with Miles while I was refilling your prescriptions and folding your laundry? That shut her up. She looked down, biting her lip. I didn't plan for any of that, she whispered. No one ever does, I replied. But they still do it. She looked up at me then, and that's when I saw it. Not guilt. Not heartbreak. Panic. Avery, I said slowly. Why am I really here? Her lip trembled. And then, she dropped it. Miles left, she said. 2 months ago. He's not who I thought he was. I rolled my eyes. They never are. No, Russ, you don't get it, she said quickly. He's not just gone. He vanished. Left everything. His job. His lease. He just disappeared. And I think, she swallowed. I think someone's watching me. There it was. The hook. The real reason. This wasn't an apology tour. This was fear, wrapped in desperation and dressed up as closure. But even that wasn't what stunned me. What did? She said the name of the person who's been following her. And it was mine. She said my name like it was a curse, like it had been carved into the walls of her nightmares. I just stood there, frozen, trying to process what she was actually suggesting, that I was the one following her, that I had become the shadow at her doorstep. But I hadn't been anywhere near her since she walked out of our life. I hadn't sent a message, made a call, not even liked a post. So why now? Why pin this on me? You're serious, I finally said, narrowing my eyes. She nodded quickly, eyes darting to the window like she expected someone to be watching right then. I've seen you, or someone who looks like you, at the grocery store, across the street from my building, even in the parking lot at work. I stared at her. Avery, if I wanted to stalk you, I wouldn't have needed a plane ticket to find you. She looked shaken, pale, like she'd been living in a constant state of fear, and not the kind you could fake for pity. He wore your hoodie, Russ. The gray one. The one with the frayed collar. And he had your walk, your posture. Anyone could wear a gray hoodie and have bad posture. No, she snapped, standing. It was you. It looked like you. But when I got close, his face, she stopped short, like she was afraid to say more. It wasn't right. It was wrong. Like, too close to yours, but empty. Like a mask. A cold chill swept down my back. Not because I believed her, not yet. But because the way she said it, the way her voice cracked, it wasn't just guilt. It was fear laced with confusion. And suddenly, the conversation didn't feel like a reunion. It felt like a warning. You think Miles has something to do with it? I asked. She nodded slowly. I think he's the reason I'm in this mess. After I left you, everything spiraled. At first, he was perfect. You know, spontaneous, wild. The opposite of what I thought I had with you. But then he started asking weird questions. About your childhood, your family, even your habits. I thought it was just jealousy, but I don't know. I remembered seeing Miles once, months before the breakup. He came to a dinner party. He was charming in that fake deep kind of way, always quoting obscure philosophers and talking about spiritual detachment. But I remember how he looked at me, not like a rival, but like a project. What happened the night he left? I asked. She hesitated, then said, "We got into an argument. He said I was still emotionally tied to you, and I told him I wasn't. I said you were weak, predictable, safe." She looked at me, her face tight with regret. He laughed, said, "You think he's the weak one?" Then he walked out. I haven't seen him since. And now someone who looked like me was haunting her life. Convenient. I should have walked out right then. I should have told her that none of this was my problem, that she built this nightmare and now she could sleep in it. But I didn't. Because deep down, some stupid, rotted part of me still wanted to know why. Why she ruined us. Why she ran. Why, out of everyone, she still thought of me when things got terrifying. So I said, "Give me one night. I'll stay. Not for you, for answers. But if I even smell a lie, I'm gone." She didn't argue, but I should have. Because that night, I saw it for myself. And it wasn't just a look-alike. It was worse. That night, I stayed in her apartment. Not because I trusted her. That part of me had died long ago. But because something about the way she flinched at shadows, the way she double-locked the door 3 times before bed, made me believe she wasn't faking it. Whatever was happening, Avery was genuinely terrified. And whether I liked it or not, it had something to do with me. I didn't sleep. I sat in a worn-out armchair near the window, hoodie still on, watching the street below through cracked blinds. The rain tapped against the glass like an old metronome, steady, rhythmic, unsettling. Around 3:47 a.m., I saw a movement across the street. A figure, standing perfectly still under the street lamp, hands in his pockets, head tilted slightly upward. I leaned forward, heart stuttering. He was wearing a gray hoodie. Mine? No, it couldn't be. I'd never owned jeans like that. Never stood with my feet so rigidly aligned. But his face, it was my face. Or some broken, uncanny version of it. Not a twin. Not a brother. Something off. Like someone had described me to a police sketch artist who only half listened. I didn't move. I didn't blink. I just watched. He stood there for exactly 7 minutes. Never moved. Never looked away. Then, as if on cue, he turned and walked into the alley. I bolted up, grabbed my jacket. Avery stirred, half asleep. "Where are you?" "Stay inside," I said, not looking back. I raced down the stairs 2 at a time. When I hit the street, the air was thick with fog and the alley was pitch black. I followed the direction the figure had gone, phone flashlight trembling in my hand. Nothing, just garbage bins and wet cardboard. But then I noticed something wedged in the metal gate at the end of the alley. It was a photo, printed on glossy paper. It was me, and Avery, at our old apartment, from before she left. Before any of this. I recognized the sweater I wore, a Christmas gift from her. In the picture, I had my arms around her. But the look on my face, it wasn't mine. The eyes were too wide, the smile too sharp. It was a version of me, but hollowed out. And on the back of the photo, written in pen, or maybe marker, just 2 words. "She's mine." I stumbled back, chest heaving, trying to make sense of what I was holding. Someone had been watching us, long before she left. Someone had been studying me, copying me, becoming me. By the time I got back upstairs, Avery was pacing. When she saw my face, she froze. "You saw him, didn't you?" I handed her the photo. She looked at it, then crumpled to the floor like the weight of the truth had finally crushed her. "I think he's trying to replace you," she whispered. "But I don't know why." Neither did I. But in that moment, I realized something far more terrifying than being cheated on, lied to, or abandoned. This wasn't about our failed marriage anymore. This was about identity. And someone, or something, wanted mine. I sat on the floor of that dark apartment with my back against the door, the crumpled photo still burning in my hand like it carried heat. The silence between Avery and me was heavy. Not awkward, paralyzed. She didn't ask what I saw in the alley. She didn't have to. She could read it on my face, the same way I once read grocery lists off hers without speaking. "He left those in my mailbox too," she said finally, voice so low I almost missed it. "Pictures. Sometimes of us. Sometimes just you. Always smiling, but always off." I looked over at her, arms wrapped around her knees, her skin pale against the moonlight slipping through the blinds. I didn't know what scared me more, that she'd kept this to herself for months, or that some version of me was out there, stalking her like a ghost trying to reclaim unfinished business. Did you ever respond to him? I asked. She nodded. Once. I left a note. I told him to stop, that it was sick, that it wasn't you. And she swallowed. He left one back. Just 4 words. I never left, Avery. That's when I felt the shift. The temperature in the room dropped. Or maybe my blood just ran cold. This wasn't just about her. This wasn't a jealous ex playing twisted games. This was personal. This thing, whatever it was, knew everything about us. Our patterns, our memories, our faces, and it had been watching long before either of us had noticed. The next morning, I made a decision I never thought I'd make. I went to see Miles. Well, tried to. His address was still in Avery's phone, buried in some old message thread. We drove in silence. The air between us was thick with tension, regret, and something worse, familiarity. She tried to make small talk once, about the weather. I shut it down with a look. When we arrived at his last known address, something felt off immediately. The door was unlocked. The apartment was ransacked. Not like a robbery, like someone had been searching frantically for something. Drawers were pulled halfway out, fridge wide open, clothes scattered like breadcrumbs. But no Miles. Just a white envelope sitting on the counter, addressed to me. Not Russell. Me. I opened it slowly. Inside was a flash drive. Back in Avery's apartment, I plugged it into her laptop with shaky hands, unsure if I was about to open something I could never unsee. There were only 2 files. The first was a video clip. Grainy, black and white, time-stamped from 3 weeks ago. Security camera footage from somewhere I didn't recognize. But in the footage, I saw a man. Same build. Same posture. Same hoodie. He walked past the camera. Turned. Smiled. It was my face. But the smile stretched too far. The eyes were dead. The movements were robotic, like someone wearing my body but never having practiced how to use it. The second file was worse. It was audio. A voice, mine, but not mine, whispering one phrase, over and over, growing louder each time. I was never gone. I slammed the laptop shut. This wasn't about a break. This wasn't even about Avery anymore. Whoever, or whatever, this thing was, it wasn't done with me. And the scariest part? I wasn't sure I was done with it either. I didn't sleep that night. Not even for a second. I sat in Avery's living room, watching the dark edges of the sky shift into pale blue, listening for the smallest sound beyond the windows. She slept in the bedroom with the door locked. Not because she was afraid of what was out there, but because I think part of her didn't fully trust that I was me. And honestly, neither did I. That audio clip, that voice. It was mine, but somehow flattened. Too slow. Too even. Like someone had stitched together the patterns of my speech, but couldn't replicate the meaning behind the words. Every time I heard, I was never gone, it sank deeper. Not just into my brain, into my sense of identity. I needed answers. Not from Avery. Not from speculation. From the source. So at sunrise, I left. No note. No warning. Just grabbed a coat and went back to the alley where I'd first seen him. Not because I thought I'd find him there, but because I hoped he'd find me. Hours passed. Nothing. Then something strange happened. A woman, maybe mid-50s, came down the alley dragging 2 garbage bags. She paused when she saw me, tilting her head. "You're back," she said, like she knew me. I turned. "Sorry." She smiled. "You were here last night, weren't you? Around 3 in the morning?" I froze. No, that wasn't me. Her smile dropped instantly. "You're messing with me. I'm serious. That wasn't me. Did you talk to him?" She shook her head. "No, he didn't talk. Just stood there, smiling, watching. Then he walked right past me like he didn't even see me." "And you thought that was me?" She looked me up and down, visibly shaken now. "It was you," she whispered. "But it wasn't." That's when I knew he was real, not a hallucination, not a projection of my guilt or hers. He was moving, interacting, passing for me. And now, other people were starting to notice. I went back to the apartment, and this time I told Avery everything. No sugarcoating, no theories, just facts. She listened, silent, until I mentioned the woman. That's when her expression shifted. "I need to show you something," she said, and pulled out a box from under her bed. Inside were more photos, all of me. Different places, different times. But something was wrong in every single one. Too symmetrical, too stiff. A mannequin mimicking life. Then I found a photo that made my blood run cold. It was from 3 years ago. I remembered that day. We'd gone hiking in Vermont. I was wearing the same plaid flannel she loved. She even joked I looked like a lumberjack librarian. But in the photo, the man in the shirt, he wasn't me. It was the same thing from the footage. Same face, same flannel, but dead eyes. Same crooked smile. I knew then that this hadn't started after she left. It had started before. I'd been replaced, or mirrored, long before I knew she was pulling away. And maybe that was why she pulled away in the first place. Maybe she sensed something was wrong, even if she didn't understand it. But here's where it turns. As we stared at the photos, the lights in the apartment flickered. Once, then again. A text buzzed on Avery's phone. No number, just a message. Time's up. He's ready now. She looked at me. I looked at the door. We both knew. He was coming. And this time, he wasn't watching. He wanted in. The apartment lights flickered again. A low hum vibrated through the walls, like a distant engine warming up. I looked at Avery, her face white as chalk, clutching the phone in both hands. The message still glowed on the screen. Time's up. He's ready now. I didn't speak. I just moved, grabbing the photo box, the laptop, everything connected to him, and dumping it into a duffel bag. We had to leave. Not just the apartment, the city. But as we reached the door, something in me shifted. I'd been running. From the breakup, the pain, the unanswered questions, and now this twisted reflection of myself. I was tired. Not just physically, but emotionally drained in a way that no sleep could fix. So I did something I hadn't done since this whole mess began. I turned around and waited. At first, silence. Then, soft footsteps in the hall. Slow, deliberate, measured. The doorknob twitched. Then twisted. Avery gasped, backing away, but I stood still. The door creaked open. And there he was. Not a demon. Not a monster. Just me. Same hoodie. Same hair. Same tired eyes. But behind the eyes, something blank. Like the memory of a person, not the person himself. He stepped inside, staring at me. No words. No emotion. I looked him dead in the eye and said, "You don't get to take my life. Because it's already mine again." Maybe it sounds ridiculous, but I meant it. I wasn't the broken man she left anymore. I wasn't the overthinking doormat. And I wasn't some hollow copy playing husband for someone who didn't love me. I was me. Finally. And then, the strangest thing happened. He blinked, slowly, and smiled. Not in that haunting, fake way. A small, almost peaceful smile. Then he turned, walked back out the door, and vanished down the hall. We never saw him again. No more texts. No more photos. No more flickering lights or alleyway sightings. Just quiet. Avery moved back east a few weeks later. We didn't get back together, and that's probably for the best. But she apologized, truly, and for once, I believed it. We've stayed in touch. Occasionally. As friends. As for me, I moved again. Started over. Found a little house near the woods. Got a dog. Even started painting. Badly, but it helps. I still wear the hoodie, the real one, on cold mornings. Not because I miss who I was, but because it reminds me of what I survived. So yeah, maybe I was replaced for a while. Maybe I lost myself. But in the end, I got something better back. Me. Thank you for watching this full journey here on Reddit Confessions. If you've ever experienced something that felt unreal but deeply personal, or if you've ever faced a version of yourself you didn't recognize, we'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell us about a strange or unexplained historical event that always fascinated you. We'll be featuring our favorites in upcoming episodes. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share if this story gave you chills or hope. See you in the next confession.